Hello everybody, welcome to the Itty Bitty Horror podcast. If you are joining us for the first time, then welcome. In this podcast we discuss horror movies, legends, and myths, and interviews with horror creators. Tim is off this week, so it'll just be me. But for today's episode, it's a very special one. We speak with Rodrigo Rendon, also known as Rigo, one of the founders and creators of Occulto Monthly News, and Julian Wagstaff, one of the writers for the magazine. Occulto Monthly Magazine is a monthly publication that exposes the truth about San Antonio and its odd stories. From ManBat to the Culebra Creeper, we discuss how the publication got started, the creative ways they source their stories, and what the future holds for this popular publication. Please help me welcome to the podcast, Rigo and Julian. So hey guys, welcome to the podcast. I'm really excited to have you all come and talk a little bit about your magazine, Occulto. But before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what inspired you to create Occulto magazine?
Yeah, so my name is Rodrigo Rendon from San Antonio, Texas. And I guess I have to start by saying I actually come from a background of filmmaking, went to school for that and everything. But that was a long road, and I traveled abroad to study filmmaking. But upon coming back, I was kind of in between roads and found it difficult to kind of follow that passion. But also I started becoming more interesting in getting more involved with my local community. I think maybe traveling abroad kind of opened my eyes more to the city and the culture and what it has to offer. And so for a while, about 2 years since I got back from abroad, I had this idea. It kind of came up slowly, but it kind of just stems from a passion and a want of trying to celebrate and preserve a lot of the culture, folklore, superstitions, and haunted history in San Antonio as the city grows with the times. And for a lot of it, for me, kind of just scratches a lot of creative itches that I have and kind of have always had. And so this project and the larger Vela Cultura kind of organization that it falls under, it's really just about exploring those things that I had mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. And that I get to work with creatives, be involved in the community, write, and this whole Occulto thing is kind of turned into a never-ending, ever-evolving story, in and of itself. And so I get to do that, write, still be creative, make videos, and then lean into a lot of spooky and supernatural, conspiratorial, all these things that I kind of have a passion for. I've always had a passion for, honestly. So it's really great to be able to find something to kind of put all of myself into.
Yeah, and I totally get that because, Julian, before we get to you, I had the same issue when I was a couple of years ago. I've been talking to some friends who was like, oh, I really want to do something creative and whatnot. And my friend Tim and I have always talked about writing a script together. Heads up, we're not writers in terms of like writing scripts or anything, but just coming up with an idea and trying to just flesh it out and whatnot. It never came to fruition, but I love horror movies. I love everything creepy and scary and spooky, etc. So when I had a chat with a friend about a year ago, and we were talking about like what I want to do, and we started talking about like podcasting. And I was like, well, what does it take to do this? Because I don't know. And I just look up like Skillshare, and it just taught me the very basics. And now 20, 30 episodes later, which is not a lot, but over the course of a year, I've learned a lot. If you listen to the first episode to like today's episode, I guess, you'll notice a big difference, at least in terms of audio quality, I would hope. So you learn something, you apply to the next episode, etc. So for me, it was just more of that and just wanting to release that creative energy. Julian, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with Occulto?
Yeah, so I guess for your listeners, I'm Julian Wagstaff. I'm one of the writers for Occulto. I'm currently trying to do my best to help and support Rigo in every way that I can as it grows and grows. I first met Rigo probably about 7 or 8 years ago now. We were both attending the same film classes at the local community college, Northwest Vista. And at the exact same time that we ended up in class together, we started working as AV technicians at SeaWorld San Antonio together. So it was like this really weird moment where one moment I see this guy at work, and the next moment I see him in my classes. I'm like, what's going on here? And we've just been working together as friends ever since. And then this last year, we've worked on a bunch of film projects and live event stuff outside of Occulto, but it was just last year when I was talking with Rigo, and he was saying, I have this idea for this thing, and I'm just gonna throw myself at it for a month. And out came the first issue, and he was asking for ideas, asking for stories. And I have a bit of a background in actual, like, I'm not gonna say news reporting, but I worked in a news station as a news photojournalist for a while. So I would say that the style and approach I take whenever I try to write the stories in Occulto has a little bit more of like that sort of this like breaking news edge whenever that comes from my own personal experience. But yeah, the thing started back in like was it October, November, December last year, and I've just been trying to throw as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. So I actually used to live in San Antonio for a couple of years, and I would go to Northwest Vista to do voter registration. I do voter registration all over San Antonio, but my focus was specifically colleges. But that was a lifetime ago, I feel, almost. But it's really funny because I used to live in the Deco district, I guess, near Woodlawn Lake, I guess, kind of, right? And I remember seeing an article that you all had about this sea creature or something in Woodlawn Lake. I was like, oh man, this is pretty hilarious, because I would imagine myself running when I used to run, not anymore, but when I used to run around Woodlawn Lake, and imagining something like that just coming out and snatching me and taking me down to the muddy water or something.
Yeah, I feel like that exists there for some reason. I see other art, like when that cover was already just a concept. I mean, I probably had seen something similar too, but I think when people just see a lighthouse, you immediately think tentacles.
Yeah,
I think so. It just kind of, like, I don't know. It was always going to be that way. I feel like it exists somewhere in people's minds.
Yeah. And so for folks that do not know what they're tuning in for the very first time, and they're learning more about your magazine, can you tell the folks a little bit about what Occulto Monthly News is?
For sure. So like I mentioned before, the Vela Cultura organization focuses on superstition, folklore, and haunted history, and kind of preserving that. And so Occulto Monthly News is kind of the fun arm of that, where we get to write short fiction stories for and by
fiction
writers.
No, I'm kidding.
Fiction stories. Mostly, I mean, yeah, they're always inspired.
Fiction for some. Fiction for some.
Yes, 100%.
Inspired by, past experiences, for sure. People that have written. It's just, it's always a little ambiguous. And as we go on, for sure, I mean, there are things, maybe that's just how it started out, but as things progress and, more people hear about it, and if there's anything strange that's going on in the city, we will definitely have something in there. And so for April, like, there's a girl in town who has the Guinness World Book record for the largest collection of Casper.
Oh, wait, I think I saw
Casper items. Yeah, we had teased it a little bit. She shared something, and then I did just like a little tease, because I don't like to really put anything out there until the actual paper for that month is out. And so, yeah, I mean, that's real. She's around, she's here. And, if anybody has anything that has really happened, I mean, because we all have ghost stories and, things that we could talk about that happened in a past setting. I have plenty. But since it's, news and trying to be current, it'd be nice if we can get some new kind of spooky things around town happening. Yeah. I just reached out to some urban explorers that have been kind of going semi-viral on TikTok.
Or are these the folks that go into abandoned buildings, or it's like the back rooms, you could say?
Yeah, it's exactly what it looks like. I just reached out to them today. Who knows if they'll see it or respond, but real things like that, though, that's cool. Maybe it's not supernatural, but it's got to be a little spooky, right? So I would love to talk to them and, do a little feature on them. So yeah, I mean, as it evolves, I mean, I think, it's not like I'm not a believer. There's definitely strange things going on out there. So if we could find them and report on them, we'll definitely do that at some point.
Yeah. And Julian, are you I forgot to ask, and maybe you already mentioned this and I maybe didn't hear this, but are you originally from San Antonio, or did you move to San Antonio eventually?
I wasn't born in San Antonio, but I was raised in San Antonio. There was about a 3-month stint as a baby that I can't account for when I was in Huntsville, Alabama, and then family moved down here.
Your control.
So I was raised here. way beyond my control.
Yeah. I ask this because, obviously you both know San Antonio is like a very historic city. And I was going to ask you, how do you tie in the local culture? But you kind of touched on that a little bit. I guess I was more curious on the famous quote unquote, well, I don't even quote unquote, they're real, the famous ghost stories from San Antonio. Because, you hear about the train tracks down in, I think it's South San Antonio. You hear about so many different stories. Like, is that something that influences the type of stories that you write, or is that also something you're like, you know what, we're actually going to cover this and try to interview certain folks or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, growing up, I'm born and raised here, native. My parents grew up here. And so those stories that you talk about, the well-known ones, they've always been a part of, my culture growing up. And then a lot of, people I grew up around with, aunts, uncles, all sorts of family. They all have stories from here and abroad. And it all ties into the Hispanic community. But it's also good to recognize things that come from other places because it's Hispanic. And then the city also has a lot of German influence, especially around San Antonio. Yeah. But the more well-known ones, like the ghost tracks, like we have a little crossword puzzle that, the art has been updated recently to more closely reflect that story. Our April issue, spoilers maybe not, but you said this might be coming out in April.
Yeah, we're releasing this in April, so you kind of say
exactly. No, that's great. So like we're finally, I had told the writers and guys who were helping me, of course we're going to get to all the well-known San Antonio folklore eventually. And maybe we can interview some people that have some stories, since those are so well-known and well-traversed. There's probably plenty of people.
I'm pretty sure there's folks who, like, their abuelitas or abuelitos will say like, oh, I remember this and I saw La Llorona or something, and
for sure. I just wanted to start kind of original. We did the ManBat. As soon as I pitched that, Julian let me know that there was a ManBat in Houston. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Cool.
Can you tell us, for those that do not know, what is the ManBat?
For me, I purposely didn't look into the Houston ManBat so that I wouldn't get influenced, kind of like steal ideas. So the one we did was, pretty completely original. I think it's just a gargoyle-esque humanoid ManBat with kind of a bulking, well-built structure and huge wings, and he flies around Southtown and bestows justice upon those who might have it coming. I think he's actually an anti-hero. Yeah, in the vein of maybe Batman, where he's a little.
It's Houston, Houston Batman.
He's Batman's cousin.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. Yeah, I have no idea, but yeah, I think he just kind of goes after those evildoers that stay up a little too late in the night and cause debauchery.
Yeah, these are
That's the ManBat.
These are the folks who grow up to be our listeners, but thanks for bashing them. I'm just joking. It was really cool because, again, I lived in San Antonio for a couple of years, not a lot. I'm originally from South Texas, like down in Laredo, and moved to the San Antonio, and then moved to the Bay Area. But here in the Bay Area, and maybe I just haven't really immersed myself in the community when it comes to like local folklore and whatnot. I'm pretty sure there's a shit ton of that here anyway. But I remember hearing so many stories about like just South Texas in general. You hear about like, and again, I'm going with like famous quote unquote like Mexican folklore, northern Mexico, South Texas. You hear of like La Lechuza, right. You hear of La Llorona, all these other things. And I'm curious, have you, and maybe this is more for later, because I was going to ask you like, what are your short-term and long-term goals, but have you given any thought into expanding a little bit outside of San Antonio, like maybe like Bernie or South Atascosa, I think it's called, and the stories that surround these areas? Because I remember hearing about this more a little further, but like Eagle Pass and having the Frogman, and I was like, what the fuck is a Frogman? And this lady was telling me that apparently it's a frog who stays on that little highway that leads you to Eagle Pass where the casino is, and as you're leaving Eagle Pass, the Frogman is just standing in the middle of the road, but you should not stop for him because he's going to jump into your car and, I don't know, kill you or something. But I wonder if you consider like expanding around the San Antonio area to take in these stories as well.
For sure, yeah, that's definitely a long-term goal. I don't see it going beyond Texas, but never say never, and one step at a time. But we definitely would start, places that could still intake just a pure San Antonio version, like places like New Braunfels, maybe as far as San Marcos, and other little Bernie
Yeah, up there.
places that are a little closer by, and yeah, they do definitely have their own ghost stories, I'm sure.
Yeah, or even if it's like true crime, because like just with a little bit of a twist or something. Because Austin is nearby.
There's always opportunity. Always opportunity.
For sure. Yeah, but in to keep going on that, what I want is to like expand to more further out to Texas, is like to have correspondents from those cities that send in an article, you know, maybe not every month, but every now and then. That would be cool. I really would like an Austin correspondent, somebody out from Eagle Pass or Houston, you know, because then what's really great about this stuff is that all the people who are sending in stories from here, it's like it kind of comes naturally, you know?
Yeah.
You said it's somewhere nearby that you grew up with, or that you always thought had a spooky vibe, or it's based off of a story that really happened to you. It kind of comes naturally. You know, we don't have to try too hard to, you know, research and come up with a place and all this stuff. It kind of just flows out. So it'd be great to have somebody from Eagle Pass, like, man, they already know all of their stories, and they can, you know, if they're into it, they can just write stuff up, no problem. And that would be cool. And, you know, maybe if that's consistent and it's great, and maybe a little following starts up wherever that's happening.
Yeah.
If we have enough copies, we can always send out, you know, at least a stack, and then, you know, then they can get it, and that would be great.
Julian, so I know that you help with like the writing of the stories, right? So like, can you tell me a little bit about what that process is? Like, okay, does somebody call you, they tell you the story, and then you write it? Or is it more like you're recording, listening to them, and then taking down your notes? Or is it more like, oh, this is what happened, and then you have a more creative imagination of what you want to talk about or present that?
Just for the sake of suspension of disbelief, I'll say all of the above. But mainly right now, most of the ones I've been hitting have just been pure imagination. One story I wrote, I forgot what it was called. I think it was Weekend at Bernie's or something like that, or Weekend in Bernie's. I was just driving a Weekend in Bernie. I was just driving down the road, and I saw someone's hand just plop out of the window, and I was like, that hand just it was really weird the way it did. I was almost like, is that like a dead body arm? It was just so strange the way that it plopped out of the window, that I decided, you know what, I think I could write a story off that. So I wrote the Weekend at Bernie story about a Bernie woman who dressed up her dead husband and packed him into the passenger seat of the car and
drove from there to Schlitterbahn or something.
Yeah, 100%. And so there was that one where I just sort of, it was a real life thing I saw and was like, that's a story. And then in this month's issue, we actually have a friend. We have a friend who is known as the Culebra Creeper. So we just gave in a very small circle.
Is that friend known as that, or is that the one person who shared that story? No, he's the Culebra Creeper.
He is called the Culebra
Hold on,
Creeper.
let me call the San Antonio PD and let them know about this paper.
Well, you know, he disappears now and then. He was supposed to be at our last meeting, but he wasn't. So he's a hard one to track.
Of course, he's a creeper. He's the Culebra Creeper.
Yeah, but we were able to do some research, let's say, and we found a lot of lore about him when we published that story. Anything. It all just, whatever comes to me in any form, I take and I'll try to put into the story. So if someone has something to say to me, I'll listen to them. But if, I guess, the universe has something to say to me, I'll listen to that as well.
So I want to take a little bit of a step back. When you first decided, okay, let's do this, let's launch this magazine, what were some of the early challenges, I guess, in trying to launch the magazine?
So I'll just kind of take the launch step by step. So I don't know if Julian remembers, but I remember kind of pre-production on the whole page and pre-creating posts and working on short reels of like haunted locations just to have like content for a page to start gaining traction. I feel like I worked on that for almost 2 months before launching the social media in October. And then in my head, I was like, okay, I got all this stuff pre-produced. People will see it, whatever, it'll just grow naturally. And then for the rest of the month, I'll work on this paper that I want to get out before the end of the month. At that point, you know, it was a full kind of self-reliant thing where I just asked a bunch of friends to send in some cool stories, and I worried about literally everything else.
Yeah.
And so on top of, attending to the social media and the few replies we were getting at that point and that stuff, finishing working on the paper. I mean, long story short, it didn't get finished. I didn't finish design and production on the paper until mid-November.
Yeah.
And then by that time, I was already like, man, I mean, because just October is just so hectic. I mean, everywhere, but especially here in San Antonio, there's just so many events nonstop all month. So mid-November, I had it done, and dead tired. And I mean, I'll be honest, I went in not knowing for sure how we were gonna print this thing.
Yeah.
As far as I wanted it on news stock paper.
Mm-hmm.
But if push came to shove, worst come to worst, I would just, as long as it gets printed in some fashion, I'd be satisfied. And I went around for about 2 weeks not working, not making any money, just looking for a place that might be able to print this for an affordable sum.
Yeah.
And eventually, after going to all these print shops and all these different places, somebody pointed me to an actual press place, which I was honestly kind of trying to avoid because, just because of the, I would say, self-critical amateur quality and the low budget. I know they usually deal with, higher budgets and more count and all this stuff. So, but I ended up going, and they were actually very nice, very accommodating. I'll shout them out, South Texas Press, right outside downtown.
We love you, South Texas Press. We love you.
Yeah, South Texas Press. And they were really great, really nice and accommodating. And they just worked with me. They gave us a good deal for 500 copies. And that was towards the end of the month in November. And it ended up launching literally November 31st / December 1st. And we were kind of at odds of whether it should be released as a November issue or a December issue. Mm-hmm. December being more obvious, but we didn't put any Christmas or winter stuff in it, so it was like, what? But it worked out, and it was it kind of popped off. Everyone who saw it liked it, and it's been doing better and better every month from there. And just to kind of touch on the production, besides just the printing aspect, I don't think because maybe I had the pre-production in the whole month of October that I was trying to, and then the whole month of November, half of it. I think the only other hang-up, besides stories, which wasn't that bad, was just kind of teaching myself how to use Adobe InDesign. Yeah, that I've been working with the suite forever, but I've never touched InDesign. Mm-hmm. Luckily, through like all my past work in video production, whether that's ad agencies or filmmaking or whatever, I've gotten pretty handy with Photoshop and other design tools and just editing for videos in general. So that definitely helps on that end. But InDesign itself was like a whole new beast that I had to learn. And yeah. But luckily I was a quick learner and, wish I knew some things now that I did then, but I'm learning every month, and
that's the way it is. Yeah, and that's funny because for myself, I have a friend who helps me with a little bit of the artwork, but lately he's just been real busy with some stuff, and so I've been doing a lot of the artwork, and it's all like shitty, but I feel like it's intentionally shitty, if that makes sense. Like I feel like maybe that's my brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Could be.
And I just like do like almost like freaking clip art type videos with stupid, you know what I mean? So it's just like, but I feel like maybe it helps with your aesthetic if that's exactly what you're going for. But I feel your pain in terms of like having to learn everything. Like even as the shittiest one that I released recently about La Llorona, like that shit took me 2 days and it looks like shit, but I think there's some endearing quality to it. At least I would hope so.
No, I think I saw it. And I like it. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Where it's just like the two figures moving and like the mouth.
Yeah, exactly.
That one? No, I like that.
South Park-esque vibes.
No, I like that. I actually really like that.
Julian, so what goes into creating a good headline and story?
I wouldn't say that there's any one way to create a good headline or a good story. Sometimes it comes in reverse. So I'd have an idea for a story, have some basic ingredients and then start putting it together.
Like the burning story.
Thinking about it. Yeah, exactly. So then after thinking about, like, the Bernie story is exactly the one where I started with the story after seeing the hand plop out, and then I wrote a whole, bit of lore behind why that could have been, and then it just worked out. So I don't even know how to say, like, organically, that it was like, oh, the lady who's dressing up her husband is kind of like the call back to the actual Weekend at Bernie, film. But there's been times where, like, the story of the Culebra Creeper, where as soon as I heard that nickname from a friend, it was like, that in its own right is a perfect headline for a story in San Antonio, the Culebra Creeper. And then I built off of that. And there's been a couple things. It all just depends on what you're picking out from the story. Like there's been times where I think I'm unsure if in the paper so far there's been, like, the big catch line is just a phrase or a quote from the thing that is like the headline in bold, and so then you read, oh, what is this weird statement someone made, and that's what catches someone to be able to actually start reading into the nature of it. There's been there's a couple stories in Rigo's backlog that I've written that I think are pretty cool, and I'm excited for whenever they come out. Like, the one story inspiration was just a quote that was someone returned my guardian angel returned my catalytic converter or something like that. So I think I heard in my head, the idea of someone say that, or excuse me, I interviewed someone and they told me that their catalytic converter returned to their car after being stolen. And so I was like, that line is perfect enough as the starting title.
Yeah. And it's funny because I don't think it's a secret here that Occulto magazine is somewhat inspired by Weekly World News, right?
No, yeah, of course, yeah. That's the idea. That's kind of sparked from somewhere else. But when it came to that, it's kind of like, well, man, what if we had Weekly World News, but puro San Antonio?
Yeah, and the reason I ask this is because, like, I am the perfect target audience for this because I grew up with that magazine. I enjoyed, like, the absurd and ridiculous, and sometimes could this be real? Like, and I also watch X-Files. Like, there's episodes where Mulder uses certain stories from tabloid magazines as a reason to investigate something. You know what I mean? So, like, for me, it's just, like, perfect. But I wonder, like, how has Gen Z or people who are just, like, spend more time online now and maybe aren't or weren't as exposed to something like Weekly World News receiving Occulto magazine? Like, are they getting what the vibe is and what you're trying to go for, or are they making up their own idea of what this is and they think it's cool? Or what have you heard from I guess younger readers?
Yeah, it's hard to get a gauge on what our demographic is once the papers get out there, but I mean, from our following, from what I can see, there's definitely some younger people. There's definitely an older crowd, older than me, who definitely grew up with it more, and but there's definitely younger too. And I think the people who didn't grow up with it, they've at least seen something of it, online. There might be memes of it. There might be, you see the odd post. Everyone's seen Bat Boy somewhere, and so I feel like even if they didn't grow up with it, I feel like people who see it, just because of the nature of it being hyperlocal, at least here, and the big, one of the big reasons for all of this is just there's just such a big spooky community here, alt spooky community, whatever you want to call it, that just loves this kind of stuff all year round. It doesn't have to be Halloween. We have a mall here, the Mall of Wonderland of America, that does like a spooky event every weekend all year round. It's crazy. The
one by on Fredericksburg Road, or am I thinking of a different one?
Yeah, I think it's not far. It's like by 10 and 410, right, Julian? Or it's on Fredericksburg, actually. I think you're right. Yeah,
I used to frequent that mall. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I just people will share on their stories like, oh my God, so cool, and there'll be some young people who just happen to pick it up at their local goth shop or coffee place, wherever we're leaving them. And I think and then it's also very niche, but it's fun to have an actual paper, like in your hands, that's free, and just pick it up and it's entertainment. You can see real events and, real businesses and things like that. And I mean, yeah, I feel like it still resonates with them, especially, just due to the culture that's infused in there that they would recognize even if they don't recognize Weekly World News.
I was gonna say it's definitely something that, like, even if I wasn't working on, I know me myself. I'm 27. I would be like panting at the bit to get my hands on this because I'm a collector. Yeah. So at some point, like, the collecting community or someone's gonna see it and they're gonna start freaking out. I don't know. Just for me, myself, I'm like, this is amazing. I can't speak towards the whole Gen Z thing. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I know Pokemon's still a thing. I feel like that's a multi-generational thing, no matter what. So I think this can be sort of there's probably a very small demographic of people that are like niche goth collector, that's Gen Z, but I think it can still spread even wider than that,
I think so. I mean, the stories that you present, while they are, fictitious, they're based mostly allegedly, but they're
allegedly.
It's based on something, right? So the Culebra Creeper is definitely based on, like, if you think about it, it's really based on a like the Night Stalker, you could say. Obviously maybe not as as wild and awful as that, but you know what I mean? Finding like the cathedral under the Alamo type of situation where it's kind of like, well, there have been discoveries of like something underneath, a city or something. So like they're based in reality, which I think can connect a lot of different, age groups of folks, like people who love history, people who like horror, people who like mysterious stuff, and that there's no age limit on that. And I was just like, I'm really excited for what's to come for y'all. But eventually, once even the Creeper, when he becomes more famous and maybe he becomes the bad boy version of your magazine, maybe you can put him up on a high-speed chase on going to I-35, going up to Austin. 1604 over there.
I-35, bro. There's no high-speed chase.
There's
on
never going to be a high-speed chase there. Hell no. Like if you do that, you're dead.
For like 2 minutes.
There's no way you could do that. Exactly. So, have you had anybody reach out to you for an actual like investigation? And not just like a story, like, hey, come, I have a story, or hey, let me email you a story. More like, I feel like something weird is happening here, like for real. Do y'all want to like come and explore this in terms of a certain event or monster or location?
Maybe mentioned before, we're definitely open to stuff like that. We want stuff like that to be coming in, but I think that will happen more. I mean, who knows how often something like that happens. I think it does. Like, I've seen stuff. And maybe as the paper, grows and more people hear about it, we'll definitely get more of that. I've had, I can talk about a few things. I've had somebody not too long ago just kind of reach out and offer their stories as a paranormal investigator. Yeah. We have tons of groups here in San Antonio. And I definitely want to do that because I recognize that there's just so many people that, even though we're trying to do maybe current stories, even if they're mildly or not at all fictitious, that offer people a segment where we can introduce a real ghost story experience, supernatural event every month. I'll offer a couple of them if they're short enough. I have a segment for that. And besides that, I mean, there's people kind of going into the space and community. There's all sorts of fun characters, and I've had people reach out. This is more with on our video end, where we cover places around San Antonio. I like to like dive into, again, like erring away from like the more well-known places like the Donkey Lady Bridge and Asylum and stuff like that, tracks, and I try to find places that are probably haunted, but you don't really know the story. And so I did one on the Quarry Market Theater. And
the Quarry Market Theater. What's there? What's going on there?
Yeah, so it used to be an old quarry, of course, and there was lots of workplace accidents, and it used to be actually like a little mini village where the workers just used to, work and live, and so there was a lot of suffering that went on there, and work accidents, and so eventually they moved out of there. Yeah, but there's always been kind of a presence that stayed, and so they built, a whole market over it on that whole lot, and then the theater. And so there's legitimate reports that you can go online and look on look up of a ghost child in the theater, of noises. And if you've been there, I mean, like I remember growing up, that was a theater that kind of seemed strange because there's just a huge metal engine in the lobby, and it would make noises every now and then, and you did get an eerie vibe from it. And so people report seeing a ghostly figure walk up and down the stairs on a certain theater number. I don't remember the number.
Yeah.
But so I made that video, and I think it might still be our most popular video we've ever made for whatever reason. And I had somebody reach out not long after that went, like, you know,
viral,
mildly small viral, yeah. And be like, oh, it's also the site of a secret school, almost Basin Park. And at that point, I feel like I would have stumbled across it eventually, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole Julian knows about, and I talk about it. But yeah, I mean, there's just stuff that goes on in that whole woods, also almost Basin Park right there. It's connected to our famous park, Brackenridge, on the other side of the highway.
Do you ever feel that any of the folks or locations that you talk about, even in a more humorous, fictitious tone, could get you into any type of legal trouble? Because I'm thinking right now, I'm pretty sure you can come up with like a really good, fun story for like an HEB incident or something. You know what I mean? And then all we need is Charles to take you to court or something.
It's coming.
Yeah, no, I mean we're
eventually.
Yeah, well, we're being careful-ish with the first issue. I mean, because we're using like public places for the most part, streets, the Alamo, you know, landmarks. In our first issue, we did a Menger story, but that was the first issue, so I was like, you know. But definitely, you know, we've already started thinking about, you know, legal stuff. And I mean, what I want to do, to do it right, is just kind of get clearance from these places, you know.
Well, I mean, you can still, even if you don't write about it or get clearance, it was like, look, this is satire.
Yeah, exactly too. Yeah, there's a bunch of, you know, loopholes, or, you know, you have freedom of speech kind of things that, yeah, and it's obviously satire.
Obviously.
Quote unquote.
Quotes.
Quote unquote. I don't know. I think the HEB in Alamo Heights, I think that one has a weird, it was just a random white lady that I saw that I thought was a ghost.
I believe it, man.
Multiple.
Sorry to our older white lady listeners.
They got weird stuff going on. There's that other video we made of the robber baron cave going under that neighborhood up there, not Alamo Heights, but another HEB.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure like these HEB, there's like a major, you know, it's a big thing in San Antonio specifically. It's like
supernatural hubs.
I think you can have a story about documents leaked reveal that HEB plans to build their stores on top of Indian burial grounds or something. You know what I mean? Like, you can say something like that.
Oh man,
for sure. Or just that.
It's all Indian burial ground, man. That's true. I was just researching a story I had an idea for, and I was trying to see who was known, what was the most like, which indigenous tribe like this land belonged to. And there's a ton of them, but I think the main one I found was like the quote Quahiltecans or something like that, the Tipalam Quahiltecans. And I was just trying to make sure that if you know, let's just say someone reached out about a Wendigo spotting or something, and was like, I don't think we have Wendigos down here.
Wendigo spotted in frickin'
John Jay's backyard, John Jay High School backyard.
Exactly.
Yeah, that could be the new monthly thing where it's just talking about what new location is on top of Indian burial ground. Just every.
Yeah, it's a funny idea for a segment, like burial ground or not, and then it's just always yes.
Yeah, it's always going to be yes.
Now, there's so much we can do. I imagine HEB, like, just what does the acronym really stand for?
I don't know. Something with hell.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for smaller stuff, definitely, I would like to, like, if it's a bar or like a well-established business, you know, just go talk to them and ask them, hey, you know, we're the Occulto people. We'd like to do a story, you know, with your blessing.
That's everywhere. So I guess last question before we almost go towards the end, but is there one celebrity or public figure that you would want to spoof in the future? Like somebody who's like locally famous, maybe not locally famous, but like, yeah, locally famous or born in San Antonio that's actually famous, that you would want to kind of include, like, for example, like Elvis riding the Riverwalk boat or something.
Oh man, I mean that just gave me a couple pops. You know, last week I was actually in Austin for South by, and there was a Pedro Pascal. There was a Last of Us season 2 panel, and I didn't even make the connection to try to rush the stage and get Pedro Pascal to sign a copy or something like that, because I was carrying a couple copies around. But man, local celebrities, I know like Sandra Bullock's a big one, right? And who else?
She's local.
Yeah, I think Sandra Bullock.
With so many people.
Maybe I'm getting just the filming of Miss Congeniality filmed with Sandra Bullock being local.
I think Ace Ventura lives here.
I was thinking about that. I had a story I wanted to write about aliens and Kanye West, but he's not that local.
He's also a little, yeah. There's Robert. There's Robert Rodriguez.
100%.
Rodriguez, excuse me.
Oh man!
Actually, he would be perfect
I
for
was
y'all.
at a panel, and he was there.
He would be perfect for y'all. Yeah.
Yeah, Robert Rodriguez. There's so many. I mean, like McConaughey and Harrelson and a few others. What's his name?
Hell, you could even do like even if they're not necessarily born and raised in San Antonio, but they live in San Antonio, like David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Avery Johnson. You know, these people.
Oh,
awesome!
man.
Wemby would be amazing, because Wemby always gets. He gets connected to extraterrestrials, ETs, because of how tall
Maybe
and
he is
lanky
one.
he is.
Like
that would be.
Wemby review. Yeah, is you could say something like cameras catch locker room. Wemby revealing that he's an alien or something. Yeah.
Oh, you're right, man. I didn't even consider that once.
Yeah, there you
An
go.
Old Man River story.
Something like that. Yeah, yeah.
River.
Now that would be great if anyone like that caught wind or anything like that. That'd be a for sure jump on with their blessing to run something.
So guys, in terms of goals, I know you talked a little bit about what your short-term goals are. Eventually, maybe even expanding all over the state. I think that would be pretty amazing. But are you planning on expanding your magazine's reach, not just like through, paper or digital, but maybe, TV or YouTube or anything like that?
There are plans under the broader umbrella of the organization to I really want to get into doing mini documentaries.
Yeah.
Based in something historical and something researchable, and putting that out there every couple months, and we'll get more consistent with that, and that'll really help. That's another big goal for us that I really want to get into. There's so many cool and kind of ambiguous hidden stories that I would love to research and put out there.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, definitely, just today I spoke with a voiceover kind of radio voice guy to do read-throughs of our paper every month and put it, we'll upload them to YouTube. We got one. It was kind of a test run for the first issue that I did myself. And, I don't like that. I don't like my own voice reading for 30, almost 40 minutes. And I'm like, you can tell I'm getting tired as I read through it. So that's fun. But yeah, we're going to have them up on YouTube every month. Like after the month has passed, we'll always be a month behind on purpose. Cause that's always what I have on. I work from home, and I just put stuff on like that in the background. So I feel like, why not?
That's fair.
I feel like that's a good idea.
Podcasting, you never know.
Podcasting, of course, the podcasting idea comes up in my head. I haven't talked about it with these guys. My biggest thing is like, what would we talk about?
Do it like TMZ, actually. Like how they have the TV show where you just have and it's just all of you all talking. It's like, what story do you got? And then Julian could be like, well, I have Boy Bat, or what was that? ManBat. I have ManBat. Okay, well, tell me about it. And then you just cut to a scene where Julian is like running around investigating, trying to find ManBat down in the sewer.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Do it very TMZ style.
Yeah, no, there's so much stuff that I think me, and I think I speak for Julian too, would love to do, like as far as more video production side of things. And it'd be really great. We gotta grow steadily, and maybe we can, put more effort into that kind of way of doing things. We did for February make video content that kind of supported the Occulto magazine, in that we had to explain away, because this really did happen, what happened to our February edition of Occulto. And so we didn't have one that month, and so we produced content. We showed people the security footage from our offices of otherworldly entities coming in, kind of almost phasing in and just stealing the small stack of papers we had for February, and that didn't get out to people.
Yeah, we did a...
Yeah, that's exactly what happened, and we got to incorporate a lot of things, and yeah, but we would like to keep creating things like that, not just when things go wrong, but to make things go absolutely right. Exactly, yeah.
I think it's, yeah, no, and I was going to lead me to my next question, because a lot of this just takes a lot of work. And even though you can love it and really are passionate about what it is that you're doing, it still takes a lot of work. The writing, the editing, and everything, right? Like, even for myself, it's just like I have my friend Tim, who's on the podcast. He's a really, really fun, like a co-host type of situation. But like, when it comes to the podcast, like, I have to be the one who like edits it. You know, I'm the one paying for the subscriptions, and you know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot of money and energy and time, but you end up loving what you do anyway. So I was just going to ask you all, like, what advice do you have for anybody who's out there who's like really just like on the cusp of wanting to do something that they really, really love, like aspiring creatives, either looking to break into publishing or in general just doing what they love? What advice would you have for them?
More and more recently, am I realizing in my own life that there's never a good time to start. You do not waste time waiting for something good to come along. Just start and do it now. I was very fortunate in that this was Rigo's idea, and he did a lot of the footwork, and then I was able to hop on. And that is one of those nice moments of an opportunity coming my way, but that's just because Rigo started. So don't sit around and wait. Don't sit around and wait for stuff to happen. Just get it started, and even if you think like it's not going to be that good, and I know, don't be a perfectionist, because a perfectionist means you probably never start a thing. So just
go look at my typos.
Go look at Rigo's typos of my stories somehow. But definitely don't wait. Just do. You learn by doing. You don't know how a thing is done. You learn by doing. It's going to be hard. Just like Rigo said, we're learning InDesign. I don't want to learn InDesign, but I'm gonna to help Rigo out. But like, it's gonna be hard. You're gonna feel dumb. I'm someone that doesn't like. I don't like to feel dumb. So like, it's really hard for me to branch out and try new things, especially when there's stuff that you know that you're good at. But don't ever stop growing. Don't ever stop learning. Don't just start now. That's really good advice. Yeah. How about you, Rigo?
Yeah. Pretty much what Julian said too. Yeah, you'll never feel, when I launched this thing, I definitely didn't feel ready, even after 2 months of pre-production, I didn't feel like I knew enough. And it definitely wasn't perfect when it came out. It's still not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And you literally, I've told, my friends and people, like, there's one thing you can do every day to take a single step towards the goal or the next benchmark. And if you can at least do one of those things, every night when you have time, or work on something for a little bit, that's eventually going to lead somewhere. And the hard work is worth it, because I feel like there's a lot of times where, you got all these ideas and passions and things you want to do. And it's like, I'm also satisfied, relaxing, being in nature, doing nothing. But that kind of, that doesn't compare to the fulfillment of actually getting to build something through all the hard work. And it might suck in the moment, but the rewards are always worth the work.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I think it's very easy to get frustrated with what you're doing, even though you really love it, because you want it for it to be perfect. Right. And like Julian said, like, if you're waiting for it to be perfect, you're never going to get anything done, because nothing is ever perfect, no matter what. Even if everything came out perfect in terms of the stories and the layouts and everything, except like somebody's not going to like it. And that's okay. You have to be okay with that. And just taking that risk. Julian, Rigo, I want to thank you both so much for being on the podcast. The last thing is, anything that you would like to share with the audience about the future of the magazine, your social media, where they can donate or become members?
Yeah, if you are so interested, you can follow me on Instagram at OKWagstaff. That's OKWAGSTAFF. I do have a little bit of a personal side project that I am not as how you say, what's the word, consistent with as Rigo is with Occulto at the moment, but it's called Force-Fed SATX. It's sort of like a satire news comedy thing that I do on and off. It's inspired by an older YouTube channel called Force-Fed that they did like news comedy stuff when they were around. That's sort of my homage to that.
Nice. And how about you, Regal?
The page, you can find us on our main page is Instagram for sure. That's where you'll get the most content, most consistently. And that's Vela, VELA .cult.SATX. And you can find us under similar handles on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff.
Well, where can people donate or become members?
For sure. Yeah. So that is a big push. If you happen to see Occulto or anything we're doing on any platform and you like it, you want to keep seeing it, the best way to support us for sure is by going to our support page on Ko-Fi. And Ko-Fi is a Patreon alternative that I decided to go with. It's a smaller company. They take out less fees, but I all around liked the interface a lot more and the fact that they were smaller. And so it's just Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/Occulto with two C's. Yeah. And you can find us there. You can support us for just $1 a month. That's all we're really asking for, but there's higher tiers if you want extra perks like paper delivery and things like that.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to publish the links to for folks to become members, to follow y'all, your Instagram pages, as well as your the links to become members and support Occulto Monthly Magazine, because I think it's very important to support local art. And I think what you two are doing is amazing, and I love it. And I'm going to sign up right after this. And I'm thankful that y'all decided to come on the podcast and talk a little bit about your magazine and the different stories.
I'm very thankful to you, sir. Thanks for having us. We'll do the same with you. We're going to share the hell out of you when this comes out also.
When this comes out, yeah, feel free to share it. Julian, Rigo, I want to thank you both so much and wish you all a wonderful night.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, sir.
Once again, thanks to Rigo and Julian for sharing their story and how they launched Occulto Monthly News Magazine from the ground up and the different weird stories that surround the Alamo City. If you would like to help them with printing costs or just want to get your hands on the magazine, you can become a subscriber. Visit their page at ko-fi.com/occulto. That's ko-fi.com/occulto with two C's. That's OCCULTO, where you can choose between different membership levels. You can also find the links to donate on their Instagram page at vela.cult.satx. That's vela.cult.satx on Instagram. I'll be posting the links to their social media and where you can donate on the show notes. If you like today's episode of our podcast, feel free to rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to Itty Bitty Horror. If you have a story you'd like to share and want us to cover, feel free to email us at ittybittyhorror@gmail.com. As for next week's episode, Tim will be back and we're going to be discussing the ghosts and eerie stories of the Appalachian Mountains. Make sure to check that out. Thanks once again, and remember, even the smallest chills can linger long after the story ends.